Welcome, everybody, to another great episode of Real Life Matters. And of course, I'm your host, DBoss. And, over the past couple of weeks, we have been giving tips about laughing, how laughing is healthy for you. Laughing releases stress. It brings your blood pressure. It makes you more youthful. It also lets you lose weight on those who want to have abs. Your nice abs for the summer. I know the summer's coming. It doesn't mean you have to have just for the summer, but all year round. And if you don't have anybody to laugh with, you can also just, look at a sitcom or just look at something funny and just laugh, 15 minutes or something. And you'll see that makes a big difference in your life. But today we're going to be we have a special guest, and you notice I'm wearing teal, and that's the teal of for the ovarian cancer. That's what the sign is and the color. So I wore teal. But anyways, just before I introduce the guest, I'm going to play one commercial for the one of the ads that the ovarian cancer actually sponsored. So just one moment.
Indie Roots Records presents The Dark Side of Venus. Thursday, May 11th, join us at La Sala Rosa at 4848 Boulevard Saint Laurent. Backed with live band, catch performances by Bella Forte, Prestige, Nene Knightley, and SLM. Hosted by CBC's own Duke EATMON. Music by DJ Lady Savage and special guest Drew Edgehill. Pre-sold tickets $20, $25 at the door, with proceeds in support of Ovarian Cancer Canada.
All right, everybody. So we actually got the proceeds which are going from that event that's going to the ovarian cancer. So today we're going to find out a lot about that. Yes, everybody doesn't want to hear it like to hear that topic, but you know what? You have to be aware, and you have to have awareness of, what's happening to your body, and also men and women and younger people need to know what's happening with the ovarian cancer, and you need to know those things. So with no other further ado, the person who's going to educate us on this today is Valerie Dinh, Regional Director in Quebec, Ovarian Cancer Canada. So with no other further ado, I'm going to introduce you to her. Here's Valerie.
Hi, DBoss. Thank you so much. I love to see you rocking the teal for ovarian cancer.
Yes, thank you. You have to support. You got to know. And I never knew that the color teal was your guys' color for until I seen it. I said, oh, that's because you always used to see pink, which my nail polish is.
Pink for breast cancer, and we know that breast cancer made a lot of way and made a lot of progress for the cause, and so ovarian cancer also needed attention and funds and awareness. And so we got a color all of our own. So love to see you wearing it. And I love this commercial as well. That's the first time I'm seeing it. I'm going to be attending that event on May 11th. It's in Montreal. And we are so happy to have them donate the proceeds to Ovarian Cancer Canada. So really excited about that.
Well, we're excited. And, it's not an exciting topic for you guys to be telling people about. So this is something that's really, really, I like, that you're giving awareness. And today, Real Life Matters is about, giving people education, learning about different topics and stuff like that. So if you could tell everybody here at Real Life Matters likes to know people, first of all, your cultural background and where you come from.
Oh, I love that. So Valerie Dinh is my name. Dinh is a Vietnamese name. Both of my parents are of Vietnamese descent. They're first-generation immigrants here in Canada. So I'm first-generation born here, born and raised in Montreal, Quebec. But yeah, I consider myself a Vietnamese Canadian, but Vietnamese before all.
Well, I grew up in Montreal.
Oh, awesome.
We're out in good old Lachine there.
Okay, I was in Vietnam.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to find out, what is ovarian cancer?
Yeah, so ovarian cancer refers to a group of distinct cancers that originate either at or near the ovaries. Ovaries are reproductive glands found in females. So it's important to note, maybe the simple version is that ovarian cancer is not just one disease, because each type of ovarian cancer is different. It behaves differently, it's treated differently, it has different prognoses and outcomes. But for the purpose of this interview, because the main objective is to raise awareness, I will talk about ovarian cancer in the singular form. But for you to remember that in reality, it's much more complex. It's a very complex disease, and it is, there are different types of ovarian cancer. Now, with that said, yeah, so that's the first fact that not a lot of people know about ovarian cancer. And another really important fact is that ovarian cancer is the most fatal women's cancer in Canada. Yeah, so there are approximately 3,000 Canadian women who are diagnosed with ovarian cancer every year, and more than half of those diagnosed die within 5 years of diagnosis. So that means that 1 out of every 2 women diagnosed with ovarian cancer doesn't live to see another 5 years. So obviously those are horrifying and, quite frankly, unacceptable statistics. And that's why Ovarian Cancer Canada works tirelessly, advancing research for this disease and advocating for people diagnosed with this disease and people who are at risk of this disease, as well as providing support to them throughout their journey.
Wow. So I'm just finding, like you said, there's so many different kinds of ovarian cancer, and it's very complex. But a lot of people just think it's just one thing. But obviously, you were hearing today that it's not. Mm-hmm. So, how do you know what's the symptoms of it?
Yeah, so that's another tricky thing about ovarian cancer, is that it is very hard to detect for many reasons. So there is no reliable screening test for ovarian cancer. So you know how there's a mammogram for breast cancer, you can screen for it. There's an HPV or a Pap test for cervical cancer, you can screen for it. Screening allows to find cancer early, but there exists no such test for ovarian cancer. There's no reliable screening test. That being said, there are symptoms, but the symptoms for ovarian cancer are vague. They can resemble symptoms for other more common conditions. So for example, the most common first symptoms of ovarian cancer are bloating, abdominal pain, difficulty eating or feeling full quickly, and urinary changes. So I think as a woman, you and I can both probably attest to having felt those symptoms before.
Well, those are symptoms you always have, because if you have your period or your menstrual cycle, you have those things. So it's really tricky then, because that's something that everybody gets like once a month, or they get those feelings, like, so you would never think that it's related to that.
Exactly. So they're not symptoms that would necessarily lead a person to be alarmed or even to consult their doctor if they're not aware. So more often than not, when ovarian cancer is actually diagnosed, it is already in late stages, which has a negative effect, obviously, on outcomes and on survival. That said, if anyone experiences those symptoms, and it could be other ones as well, but in a new and persistent way, which means you didn't have the symptoms before, you now have them. So they're new. They're persistent if you experience them for 3 weeks or longer. And if that happens, if you have new, persistent, and frequent symptoms, we always advise you to consult your doctor with the concern of ovarian cancer. But that being said, the only way to actually confirm ovarian cancer is through surgery or a biopsy.
Oh, but do many doctors, if women come to go to the doctor or maybe their family doctor, complaining, and they might just disregard and said, "Oh, that's nothing," So how do you maybe prompt your doctor to say, "Hey, I think there's something going on. Can you please check?"
So the first thing that you can do is educate yourself, obviously, about the symptoms like we're doing now. The second thing that you can do is track your symptoms. So you come prepared, we actually, Ovarian Cancer Canada has available a tool, or will make available shortly, a tool where people can track their symptoms and then come prepared to the doctor's office and say, this has happened for the last 3 weeks. Here, I've checked off all of the symptoms. I am concerned about ovarian cancer. I would like this to get digged into further. So that is something that you're being armed with to help you to advocate for your own health. And that is very important because, as you said, some family doctors can kind of overlook these symptoms if they don't know what to look for.
And you say you only can find that in surgery or doing a biopsy.
You can only confirm ovarian cancer officially through surgery or a biopsy because there are no screening tests.
So you can't see it in your blood work or nothing?
Unfortunately not. What you can do, so there is no screening test, and I have to be careful with this because I want to be as accurate as possible. There is a combination of tests that can be ordered to when someone has symptoms and you suspect ovarian cancer. So these are the 3: transvaginal ultrasound, combined with a full pelvic exam, combined with a CH-125 blood test. If you have all 3 together in a patient that's symptomatic, you have a good likelihood of being able to suspect ovarian cancer. But even then, you would then have to go through surgery, order a biopsy, and then officially confirm the diagnosis of cancer.
And then you say they don't really, suspect you have it until it's in its fatal stages, as you were saying.
Well, unfortunately, what happens is that most of the time, once symptoms are there, you are already in later stages, most of the time. That being said, I know this all sounds very...
I know, everybody's like, wow! I got to check myself, you know what I mean? Like,
a silver lining that I can talk about, which is prevention.
Okay.
So before we talk about prevention, I guess we have to talk about risk factors. So who's at risk of ovarian cancer, right? The short, broader answer is that everyone who is born with ovaries is at risk of ovarian cancer. The more specific answer is that this disease impacts 1 in 75 Canadian women, and some are at greater risk based on certain risk factors. These risk factors are age, ethnicity, family history of certain cancers, and presence of specific genetic mutations. So age, this disease is more common between the ages 50 to 79. Ethnicity, people of Ashkenazi, Jewish, French Canadian, or Icelandic and Dutch descent have an increased risk for ovarian cancer, and that's because they have an increased risk for certain genetic mutations that are associated with ovarian cancer. And if you have a family history of ovarian, breast, prostate, pancreatic, endometrial, or colorectal cancer, then there is a possibility that there's a genetic mutation that's being passed on from generation to generation. And the only way that you can find out your risk is to speak to your doctor about genetic testing, get genetic testing done, and then learning about your genes can inform you about your options for prevention, and then you can make an informed choice about taking preventative action or not.
Okay, so what about the risk in Black people or mixed? So I guess is that high then that factor, or not really? The statistics didn't show that.
Well, you're still at risk of developing ovarian cancer, but you aren't in the ethnicity groups that are at increased risk, but you are still at risk. Okay.
So the people that Dutch and just say them over again so people could really
identify themselves. Ashkenazi Jewish, French Canadian, so very relevant to the Quebec community, and Icelandic Dutch. They basically have an increased risk for ovarian cancer because they have an increased risk for certain genetic mutations.
Okay.
But also, if you have family history of ovarian, breast, prostate, pancreatic, endometrial, or colorectal, no matter your ethnicity, you should learn about your genes,
Okay.
heritage.
Okay, so that's really, that's informative for people, because people are probably like, what? So now people are probably going to be aware of, yes, people just calm down. We know already that, you're a little freaked out, but you know what? You need to know what's going on, then nobody's not telling you. So now we're telling you so that everybody's aware of what this means, and it's not a very easy job for Valerie. She's just a deliverer.
And we can look at it. It's an important topic, because often, obviously, it's scary, or it can be scary to think about or to talk about. But when we talk about prevention, at least it's an area where people can have agency. Oftentimes you hear when people are diagnosed from cancer, I hear all the time when people are diagnosed with cancer, or even people around the person that's diagnosed with cancer, they feel at a loss, right? They feel completely helpless. They feel not in control of their body and how their body is behaving. They feel not in control of the situation. So when we talk about preventative action, we're actually talking about how knowledge and information can give you back that agency, can give you back that power to make an informed choice.
And it's good for people to know too, because it's good for men to know, because the men could figure, maybe something's going on, and that could be an option. So it's not just this is for everyone, awareness.
About learning about your genetic heritage. Absolutely.
Wow. So what can you do to prevent such things?
Yeah. So as we said, like 1 in 5 ovarian cancer cases is linked to genetic mutations, which means that, if we're aware of those, we could take preventative action. And that preventative action, or risk reducing action for ovarian cancer, it can include removing your uterus, which is called a hysterectomy. It can be removing your fallopian tubes, which is called a salpingectomy. Most cases of ovarian cancer actually originate in the fallopian tubes. And there's something called opportunistic salpingectomy, which means for people who are getting their tubes tied, who are doing a tubal ligation, they don't want any more children. They know for sure they're undergoing a tubal ligation. Well, that could be an opportunity for you, instead of just getting them tied, to remove them, to get a salpingectomy, to prevent ovarian cancer. And it is more so relevant if you have a family history of cancers that increase your risk of ovarian cancer.
Okay, you said that a lot of people haven't survived, but the people that have survived, they went through this process?
So the people who do survive, and a lot of them do. I want to paint an accurate picture. I mean, the statistics obviously are grim, but there are many survivors in our community that are thriving, that are living full lives and beautiful lives. And yes, so most of the treatment is surgery and chemotherapy.
Okay.
So the first step is surgery. They remove as much cancer as possible, followed up with some rounds of chemotherapy to remove the rest.
All right. So did you relate any of these studies to the US, or are you guys just basing it just only on the Canadian side?
So the statistics that I stated are, in terms of the number of women diagnosed and things like that, those are from Canada, because we are a Canadian charity. But in terms of the disease information that I'm giving you, that's, a consensus across the world of what we know about ovarian cancer so far.
Wow. So people, this is not just something in Canada. This is all over. If you have 2 ovaries, look at yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not about that. And it's also an awareness for even the younger people to know something if what's going on with their body.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So if people want to find out information and stuff about this, where would they go to?
Yeah, they can go to our website, ovariancanada.org. So Ovarian Cancer Canada, we're a national health charity that champions the health and the well-being of people with ovarian cancer and those who are at risk of ovarian cancer. And we, fund research, we advocate for people, and we provide support and education to those who are diagnosed. So you can find a lot of our resources on our website, and you can find more about our work as well.
Okay, and your work. So would you like to shout out anybody that supports you guys and in the for the last while?
Yeah, well, we have a beautiful community across Canada, including obviously survivors and people diagnosed with the disease, but also their friends and family who are all very invested in the cause, and volunteers, partners, community partners, corporate partners, businesses who believe in this and who want to contribute. And people like you doing something like this today, it does so much for the cause. So
Yes.
Yeah, I would shout out obviously to all the staff at Ovarian Cancer Canada. There are there's communities of researchers, scientists, and medical professionals, healthcare professionals. There are so many people involved in this to try to make progress against ovarian cancer.
So do you guys do walks for ovarian cancer, or you haven't done that?
We do. So our walk is actually called the Walk of Hope. It has been around since 2002, so it will be our 21st edition of the annual Walk of Hope. It happens in communities across Canada. I'm in Montreal. There's one in Montreal. There's usually one in Quebec City. There's one in Toronto. There are so many walks across Canada. And it's really a day in September, which is September is Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month.
Okay, September. Okay.
Yeah. And this year it's happening on Sunday, September 10th. And you can rock teal as you are doing, and you can go out to a location of the walk in your community, or if there isn't one near you, you can walk yourself, start a group and walk around your neighborhood. The important thing is that you show up on that day and you raise awareness for the cause and you talk about it, and you demand action for change. And a lot of people fundraise and have activities and events and get to gather around with the community. And it's just a very meaningful day for the community.
So how far do you guys walk? How many kilometers?
Depends on the location. We usually have a few routes. We have a 2.5 kilometer walk, and we have a 5 kilometer walk in Montreal. But some people actually do hikes instead, or like go on runs. And, you can pick your activity and pick your distance. And
yeah, because some people go, "Oh my gosh, how long is this walk? We got to take the subway between or something, or the metro."
You can do that,
and we'll catch up with you when where we're at. But a lot of people do that because sometimes it's so far.
Oh yeah, and you know what? Some of our community are, obviously in treatment or recovering and stuff like that. And so the important part is that you show up.
Okay, and wear your teal, and bring a good set and a good pair of sneakers or running shoes or whatever suits your feet.
Exactly, and bring your friends and family and dogs.
Right. So, is there anything that you'd like to say, your last words about ovarian cancer to everybody so that they can really get out there?
I want to shout out to World Ovarian Cancer Day, which is coming up. It's on May 8th. It is on May 8th every year, and it's really an opportunity to, speak up and really demand attention for ovarian cancer. As we mentioned, investment in ovarian cancer research is insufficient, and that needs to change, and we want outcomes to change. So World Ovarian Cancer Day is one of the opportunities to really rally our community behind this cause. And there are events happening across the country and virtually. You can engage by going on our website, learning more about us and about ovarian cancer. You can post about ovarian cancer on your own social media so that your friends and your family know about this disease. You can attend one of our events across the country. You can buy a t-shirt from one of our awareness campaigns. We collaborated in Quebec with this company, Push et Fist, where 20% of all proceeds are donated to the cause. That will be launched by World Ovarian Cancer Day on May 8th, so you can check it out. You can throw your own event to raise funds for the cause. And, I don't know, you can listen to this conversation. Just by doing that, you're educating yourself a little bit more about ovarian cancer, and hopefully you can spread the word.
Okay. So what about, so a lot of people, you can give to ovarian cancer, not just to breast cancer, as you're hearing from Valerie. There's all different types of cancers that you guys can give to, because most people, the common one, everybody gives to breast cancer. So we are stressing that you guys can give to ovarian cancer also.
Yeah, and I don't want to put any type of cancer above another, but the reality is ovarian cancer is underfunded. It needs more attention. It needs more fund if we want the survival rates to change. And we need them to change, because 1 out of 2 women that we lose 5 years after diagnosis, that is absolutely unacceptable. Those are women who have careers and lives and families and loved ones, and so many hopes and dreams also. So for them, for all the 3,000 Canadian women every year that are newly diagnosed, and the I don't know however many else across the world, we need this change.
Wow. Well, I really do want to thank you for giving everybody today the awareness, because I'm even aware. I wasn't aware of a lot of things that you just said, and what the symptoms and stuff are. So now you got to really check into yourself. We're not meaning to put out there a fire alarm on people, but you got to know what the symptoms are.
Yeah, knowledge is power. Knowledge about your own body and your own health is power.
All right. Well, I do want to thank you. You come back with any other updates, Valerie. Always, to train, teaching people, as you said, knowledge is power. So we gained a lot of knowledge tonight about the ovarian cancer, and the teal's the color, and all these things are going on. It's underfunded people. So we're not telling you not to give to one, but give to the one that are underfunded, so that they can do what they need to do the necessary research.
Thank you so much, DBoss. It was a pleasure for me too.
All right. Okay, so I do want to thank the viewers tonight. I hope you learned something. I know I did with Valerie here. So everybody, so good night and bye for now.
Good night.
Good night.